At 1:24 in the afternoon, the operator assigned to press 4 had one hand hovering over the start switch. The red fault light was gone. That was the problem. 3 hours earlier, the light had been blinking above Dana Whitlock's shoulder when she shut the machine down in front of 200 coworkers. Now the panel showed green. The investors were standing behind the yellow safety line. The chief executive officer was smiling again. And the only reason the machine looked normal was that someone had made the warning disappear. Marisol Reyes, Talbot Manufacturing's safety coordinator, stood beside the control cabinet with a flashlight in one hand and her phone pressed against her hip. She had been buying time for 4 minutes, then 5, pretending she needed one more look at the guard. Across the floor, Derek Colson stared at her with the expression he used when a person had stopped being useful to his schedule. The operator glanced from Marisol to the start switch. Then Marisol's phone vibrated. A message from the front desk lit up the screen. State safety officer in the lobby. Urgent. Marisol looked at the double doors at the edge of the floor. Hold it, she said. The doors opened. 3 hours earlier, Dana Whitlock had been standing in almost the same place, with her hand resting on the red emergency stop button. Dana had worked the stamping floor at Talbot for 14 years. She knew the normal rhythm of the conveyors, the sharp snap of a press cycling cleanly, and the small wrong sounds that appeared before a large failure. Press 4 was an 80-ton stamping unit. Its guard used an interlock sensor to confirm the machine was safe to run. If that sensor faulted, the press was supposed to stop until someone found out why. It had faulted twice that week. Maintenance reset the panel both times because the replacement part was delayed. Dana asked the floor supervisor how long a reset was supposed to count as a solution. "I need this week quiet," he told her. "Ridgeline is walking the floor." Dana went to maintenance. The technician told her a full inspection would cost hours of production, and nobody wanted to lose those hours before the sale review. He could not tell her when a reset stopped being safe. By Thursday morning, Ridgeline Capital was touring Talbot. Derek had gathered 200 workers for an all-hands update so the investors could see a busy plant. Dana's husband, Mike, worked logistics across town. Their son Caleb had a partial university scholarship, but the remaining cost still depended on Dana's overtime and a steady paycheck. She kept the number in a small notebook in her locker. That morning, she was watching the fault light instead. The press finished a cycle. Dana reached toward the die area to clear a small metal offcut. The interlock faulted again. The red light blinked above her head. Her hand was less than 2 feet from the die. Dana hit the emergency stop. The stamping floor went silent except for the hum of conveyors winding down. Derek stopped in the middle of his presentation. "Turn the line back on," he said. Dana looked at the red panel. The interlock sensor faulted again. "I'm not restarting it until someone checks the guard." Derek stepped down from the platform. He walked toward her slowly enough for everyone to understand he wanted the floor to watch. "We have 200 people standing here," he said. "We have investors in the building. We have a production target. You decided to stop an 80-ton press because a light blinked. The light is connected to the safety guard. Maintenance reset it. Reset is not a repair." Derek's face tightened. "You are not the safety coordinator," he said. "You are not an engineer. You are an operator." Dana did not raise her voice. "I am the operator whose hand was next to the die when it faulted." For a moment, no one on the floor moved. One of the Ridgeline visitors, a woman in her 50s named Elaine Frost, looked from Derek to the red fault light. She opened a small leather notebook and wrote down the time. Derek noticed the motion. It made him angrier. "I'm not letting one person's judgment call turn this visit into a spectacle," he said. "Turn it back on." Dana kept her hand near the emergency stop panel. "No." Derek looked at her as if she had forced him into something he had not chosen. "You are suspended," he said. "Effective immediately. Turn in your badge before you leave." The words landed harder than the machine noise had. Dana unclipped her badge. She set it beside the red button. Then she walked toward the locker room, not because she had changed her mind, but because she needed her jacket and lunch bag before she could leave the building. The floor did not erupt. Nobody made a speech. People simply watched her go. At the locker room door, Marisol Reyes was standing with her safety vest unzipped and a worried expression she was trying not to show. "Dana," she said quietly. Dana kept walking. Inside the locker room, she opened the small metal door that had held her things for 14 years. She took out her jacket, her lunch bag, and the little notebook with Caleb's tuition number tucked behind an old pair of gloves. A younger operator, Priya, stood near the benches with her mouth half open. "He suspended you for stopping the press?" she asked. Dana put the notebook in her bag. "Yes. My uncle lost 2 fingers on a press," Priya said. "Different plant. Same kind of guard issue." Dana looked at her. "That is why I hit the button." She left the locker room, walked through the side exit, and sat in her car for 11 minutes before she called anyone. At first, she called Mike, got suspended. "Long story. I'm okay." His reply arrived before she set the phone down. "Whatever you did, I already know you were right." Dana closed her eyes for a moment. Then she thought about Thomas. Thomas had been at Talbot 8 months. He was scheduled to run press 4 on second shift. He did not know the sensor had faulted 3 times that week. He did not know the replacement part was delayed. He did not know what Derek had just done in front of the floor. Dana called the State Occupational Safety Office. The woman who answered asked for the company name, the machine, the type of hazard, and whether anyone was in immediate danger. Dana gave her the facts. A safety interlock had faulted repeatedly. The machine had been reset instead of repaired. The plant was preparing to run a public demonstration with people standing close to the press. The worker who stopped it had been suspended. "Is the press still down?" the woman asked. "It is down right now," Dana said. "But they want it running again before the investors leave." There was a pause. "I can reassign an officer," the woman said. "Earliest arrival is 1:30. Dana looked at the clock on her dashboard. It was 12 o'clock. "Thank you," she said. She hung up, started the car, and drove 4 blocks to a diner where Marisol sometimes ate lunch when she needed 15 quiet minutes away from the floor. Marisol arrived 20 minutes later, still wearing her safety vest. She looked toward the door before sitting down. "You reported it," she said. "I did." Marisol nodded once, as though she had expected that answer and still needed a second to accept it. "Derek called me into his office after you left," she said. "He told me he wants Press 4 ready for a live demonstration before 2. He said whatever it takes." Dana did not touch the coffee the waitress set in front of her. "What does that mean?" "It means maintenance can make the panel look normal." "Can they fix the guard?" "Not today. The assembly needs to be replaced. The part is still delayed." Dana leaned forward. "What can they do?" Marisol looked at the diner window for a moment. "They can bypass the sensor. They can route around it so the fault light turns off. The guard will still have the same defect. The panel just will not show it." Dana felt the cold settle in her stomach. "That is worse." "I know. Will they do it?" Marisol reached into her vest pocket and put a small notebook on the table. It held the safety logs she kept every day. She had written down each reset, each fault code, and each time someone told her the problem was being handled. "I told Derek it was not a real repair," she said. "He told me safety compliance was my job, not my opinion." Dana looked at the notebook. "The inspector will be there by 1:30, she said. Marisol looked up sharply. "You called them?" "Someone had to." For a few seconds, neither woman spoke. Then Marisol slid the notebook across the table. "Take pictures," she said. "Every page." Dana took out her phone. She photographed every page, not because she wanted a case against anyone, because she had learned that a problem no one wrote down was easy for the next person to call a misunderstanding. At the bottom of the last page, Marisol had written the same note 3 times in different forms. Press 4. Interlock fault. Reset performed. Replacement part pending. Dana sent the photographs to the address the safety office had given her. Then she sent a single message back to the dispatcher. Maintenance may bypass the sensor before the demonstration. The reply came 2 minutes later. Received. Officer has been updated. Dana looked at Marisol. You can still walk away from this, she said. Marisol shook her head. So can you. I already did, Dana said. I walked away from the machine. That was the easy part. Marisol put the notebook back inside her safety vest. Then I will make sure they cannot say nobody warned them. Back at the plant, Derek was doing exactly what Dana had feared. He had told the maintenance lead, Ortiz, to make the fault light disappear before the next walkthrough. Ortiz had worked at Talbot 11 years. He had 2 children in community college and a garage that needed a new roof before winter. He knew a bypass was not a repair. He also knew the CEO had just suspended one operator in front of the entire plant for refusing to restart the line. By 1 o'clock, a jumper wire had been installed across the safety circuit. The red light went dark. The guard had not been repaired. The press had only been made harder to question. Ortiz stood in front of the panel for a moment after the light changed. Then he put his tools away and returned to other work orders. In the executive conference room, Derek stood beside a screen full of projections. Elaine Frost sat across the table with the other Ridgeline visitors, her leather notebook still open. The interruption this morning has been handled, Derek said. The interlock issue was reset and the line is operational. Elaine looked up. Handled how? Our maintenance team verified it. Do you have written documentation showing the guard was repaired and tested? Derek smiled without warmth. It was a sensor fault. We are not talking about a structural failure. Elaine wrote something down. At 12:50, one of the other visitors checked his phone and said he had an early flight. Can we see the line now? He asked. I would rather watch it run than spend another hour in this room. Derek glanced at the clock. The original demonstration was scheduled for 2. The inspector was supposed to arrive at 1:30. Derek knew he was moving the demonstration earlier. He knew maintenance had not had time to observe even one full normal production cycle after the bypass. He knew the green light did not mean the guard was fixed. He chose not to say any of that. 15 minutes, he said. He sent a message to the floor supervisor. Move demonstration to 1:15. At 1:10, the Ridgeline visitors were walking toward Press 4. At 1:15, Thomas stepped up to the controls. Marisol was waiting near the observation rail. Her phone was in her hand. She had checked the time so often that the screen had become warm against her palm. 1:20. No inspector. Thomas looked at her. Are we ready? Marisol looked at the panel. Green light. Silent guard. The jumper wire hidden inside the cabinet. Give me 1 more minute, she said. Derek heard her from across the floor, his eyes fixed on her. Marisol walked to the panel and opened the cabinet, pretending to inspect a connection. She knew exactly what she would find. She needed the machine to stay still. 1:22. The investors waited behind the yellow line. 1:23. Thomas lifted his hand toward the start switch. Marisol's phone vibrated. State Safety Officer in lobby. Urgent. She looked toward the double doors. Hold it, she said. The doors opened. Naomi Castillo walked onto the stamping floor with a state credential wallet in one hand and a clipboard in the other. She did not hurry in a dramatic way. She moved with the efficiency of someone who had spent 22 years arriving at places where people wished she would not. Marisol met her halfway. Press 4, she said. They installed a bypass. Naomi looked at the machine, then at the crowd gathered around it. "Take it offline," she said. Derek stepped forward. "We are in the middle of a scheduled demonstration." Naomi turned to him. "Are you the person in charge?" "I am the CEO." "Then you can help me make sure nobody operates this machine." "It was inspected this morning." "By whom?" "Our maintenance team." "Do you have written documentation showing the guard was repaired and tested?" Derek did not answer. Naomi looked at Marisol. "Open the control cabinet." Marisol did. The jumper wire was visible within seconds. The crowd behind the line became quieter than it had been when Dana was suspended. Naomi looked at the wire, then at Derek. "This machine is being locked out immediately," she said. "No one operates it until the guard is repaired, tested, and cleared through the proper process. I will also need the safety logs for this machine and any related maintenance records." Elaine Frost stepped forward from the investor group. "I would like copies of the findings," she said. Naomi nodded. "You will receive what you are entitled to receive." Derek looked at Elaine. For the first time that day, he did not seem to know what sentence might fix the room. Naomi's inspection took the rest of the afternoon. She began with the machine itself. She photographed the open control cabinet, the jumper wire, the guard assembly, and the panel that now showed green. She asked Marisol to identify every person who had been involved in the reset decisions. She asked Ortiz to show her where the wire had been placed and to explain, in his own words, what it changed. Ortiz did not try to make the answer sound technical. "It makes the panel think the guard is closed even if the sensor cannot confirm it," he said. "Does that repair the guard?" Naomi asked. "No." "Does it make the machine safer?" "No." Derek folded his arms. The machine was going to run one controlled demonstration at reduced speed. Naomi looked at him. "Was the guard repaired?" "No," Ortiz said before Derek could answer. "Was it tested after the bypass?" Naomi asked. "No," Ortiz said. "Was the operator who reported the fault still suspended when the bypass was installed?" Marisol answered that one. "Yes." The floor behind the yellow line remained almost completely silent. Several operators had drifted closer after the lockout. No one crossed the barrier. No one needed to. They could hear every answer. Naomi asked for the maintenance log. A supervisor brought a binder from the office. She turned the pages slowly, comparing the written resets against Marisol's notebook and the photographs Dana had sent to the safety office. The dates matched. The fault codes matched. The replacement part was listed as pending. Then she found the notation that mattered most. No completed repair. Only resets. Naomi asked Ortiz who directed him to make the fault light disappear. He did not look at Derek right away. He looked at the panel first, as if the green light had become harder to face now that everyone understood what it meant. "I was told to get it running before the investor walkthrough," Ortiz said. "By whom?" Naomi asked. Ortiz looked toward the CEO. "Derek Colson." Naomi wrote that down. Derek stepped closer. "That is being described unfairly. I asked maintenance to restore operations. I did not instruct anyone to create a safety hazard." Naomi kept her eyes on the page. "Did you know the replacement guard had not arrived?" Derek did not answer. "Did you know the light had been reset twice earlier in the week?" "I was told maintenance was handling it." "Did you move the demonstration forward after the bypass was installed?" Elaine Frost looked up from her leather notebook. The other investors turned toward Derek. Derek's answer came more slowly this time. "We had a visitor with a travel schedule." Naomi made another note. She did not lecture anyone. She did not make a speech. She documented the repeated fault, the bypassed safety circuit, the pressure to restart the machine, and the fact that the operator who stopped it had been suspended that same morning. Derek tried once to separate the suspension from the machine. "That is a personnel issue," he said. Naomi looked up. "It is part of the sequence," she said. An employee identified a safety concern. The machine was stopped. The employee was suspended. The safety control was bypassed. The demonstration was moved forward. I document the sequence accurately. No one on the floor spoke after that. Elaine closed her notebook, then opened it again to a blank page. "Officer Castillo," she said, "please provide Ridgeline with the findings and the documents we are entitled to review." Naomi nodded. "You will receive them through the proper channel." By 2:15, Press 4 was locked out. The investor demonstration had been canceled. Naomi expanded the review to the two other presses with repeated reset notes. Maintenance had not bypassed those machines, but the pattern was clear enough that they were taken offline for inspection as well. Derek stood at the edge of the floor while the yellow lockout tags went up. The same 200 people who had watched him suspend Dana that morning watched the tags take the place of his schedule. Before Naomi left the floor, she asked Marisol where Dana Whitlock was. "Home," Marisol said. "Suspended." Naomi wrote Dana's name on a separate page of her clipboard. "I will need her statement," she said. "And I will need the company to preserve every record connected to this machine in this decision." Derek heard that. "This company has procedures for personnel matters," he said. Elaine turned toward him. "And you will follow them," she said. "No changes to Dana Whitlock's file. No deleted messages. No rewritten timeline. Nothing moves until the review is complete." Derek looked as though he wanted to argue. Then he looked at the state officer, the lockout tags, the investors, and the 200 employees who were still close enough to hear. He said nothing. Marisol watched him walk away from the panel. For the first time all day, she let herself breathe out. Dana did not see any of it in person. She was at home, sitting at the kitchen table in the same work clothes she had worn that morning. Her lunch bag was still on the counter. Caleb's tuition notebook lay open in front of her, though she had not written anything in it. At 3:40, an automated message from HR arrived in her inbox. It said her suspension was under review and that she was not to contact plant personnel while the review was pending. The language was careful. It did not say she had done anything wrong. It did not say she had done anything right. It simply placed her in the space between a decision and its consequences, where workers often had to wait while people with offices decided what the facts meant. Dana read it twice. Then she put the phone face down. Mike came home early after she told him what happened. Mike came home early after she told him what happened. "If they try to make you the problem," he said, "we will deal with it." Dana nodded. "I know." She did not sound convinced. At 6:40, the phone rang. "Dana Whitlock?" "Yes. This is Elaine Frost from Ridgeline Capital." Dana sat up straighter. "I watched what happened this morning," Elaine said. "I want to understand it from you directly. Why did you stop the press?" Dana told her. She kept it simple. The fault had happened 3 times. The guard was not repaired. Her hand had been near the die. Thomas was scheduled to run the machine next. Elaine listened without interrupting. When Dana finished, Elaine asked one more question. "Did anyone at Talbot ever tell you the guard had been repaired?" "No," Dana said. "They told me the light had been reset." "And did anyone ask you what you saw before you were suspended?" Dana looked toward the dark window. "No." Elaine was quiet for a moment. "That is in the record now," she said. "The machine was not only unsafe, the process around it was unsafe. People were pushed to keep quiet about the information that should have stopped it." When Dana finished, Elaine said, "Your suspension has been reversed. It will be removed from your record." Dana looked at Mike across the table. "I did not stop the machine for that," she said. "I know," Elaine said. "That is why I called you myself." "What happens now?" Dana asked. "Now the board gets the full record," Elaine said. "And the people who made the right call get to be part of how this place moves forward." Dana hung up with the phone still in her hand. Mike waited. "I still have a job," she said. He nodded. Dana looked at the dark window above the sink. "More important," she said, "Tomas did not run that press. Derek kept his job for 9 more days. For the first 2, He acted as if the inspection were an expensive disruption that could be managed through the right meetings. He sent careful messages to the executive team about cooperation, immediate review, and commitment to employee safety. He told a senior manager that Dana's suspension had been a temporary decision made under pressure. The problem was that the record had stopped belonging to him. Naomi's findings went to the state office. Marisol's daily notebook had dates and fault codes. Ortiz's statement described the bypass and the order that preceded it. Elaine had her own notes from the morning, including the time the red light was still flashing while Derek told investors the facility was running at full capacity. And the message moving the demonstration from 2 o'clock to 1:15 was still on the floor supervisor's phone. Ridgeline convened an emergency review the following week. Elaine led the call. She did not begin with Dana. She began with the machine. 3 documented interlock faults, she said. No completed repair. A safety circuit bypassed. A live demonstration moved forward before the machine had been tested. Then the employee who stopped the line was disciplined in front of the workforce. Derek tried to frame the story as a breakdown in communication between maintenance and operations. Elaine asked one question. Did you know the guard was not repaired when you told the investors it had been handled? Derek said he relied on his team. Elaine did not raise her voice. You relied on the answer you wanted, then punished the person who gave you the answer you did not want. No one on the call disagreed. One of the other Ridgeline partners asked whether Talbot could still be sold on the original timeline. Elaine said the sale would proceed only after the safety review, corrective work, and operating controls were complete. The valuation would need to reflect the risk that had been uncovered. That was the moment Derek understood the real consequence. He had not merely created a bad day on the floor. He had changed the number attached to the deal he had been hired to protect. The board did not schedule a public meeting with the plant. They did not ask Derek to apologize in front of the workers. They made a decision on a short private call. His role in the sale was over. Talbot's operations would report to Ridgeline's oversight team until a new structure was in place. Derek cleared out his office on a Tuesday afternoon while the plant was still running around him. He did not speak to Dana again. Word reached the floor through ordinary channels. Someone in receiving saw his car leave. Someone in payroll heard an assistant ask who was approving reports now. By the end of the shift, everyone understood he was gone. Nobody needed an announcement to understand why. Press 4 stayed offline until the replacement guard assembly arrived. The shutdown cost production hours. It delayed part of the investor schedule. It forced meetings Derek had spent months trying to avoid. But no one lost a hand and the plant had time to repair the problem it had been pretending not to see. During the shutdown, Marisol walked the rest of the stamping floor with Naomi's checklist. She spoke to operators one at a time. She asked what lights had been ignored, what sounds had been explained away, what repairs had been called temporary for so long that people had forgotten they were temporary. The answers were not dramatic. A guard that stuck sometimes. A panel that needed 2 resets after lunch. A supervisor who told people to keep the line moving and write it up later. That was the part Elaine cared about most. Not a single wire in one cabinet. A culture that had taught people to doubt the warning before they doubted the machine. 11 days later, Naomi returned with an independent reviewer to inspect the replacement guard assembly and the new maintenance procedure. The new protocol was simple. An interlock fault meant the machine stopped. It did not matter whether the delay was inconvenient. It did not matter whether visitors were in the building. It did not matter whether someone had a flight to catch. The machine stopped until the actual problem was repaired. When the replacement guard arrived, it was not installed in a rush between shifts. The maintenance team shut down the full work area. Ortiz and another technician replaced the assembly while Marisol watched the procedure against the manufacturer instructions. Naomi's office reviewed the repair documentation. An independent reviewer tested the interlock through repeated cycles before anyone was allowed near the controls. Dana came in early on the day of the restart, not because anyone required her to, but because she wanted to see the machine when it came back to life. Thomas was there too, standing a few steps behind her in new ear protection. The first test cycle ran empty too, then a third. Marisol watched the sensor lights. Ortiz watched the guard. Dana watched the space where her hand had been when the fault appeared. Only after the checks were complete did Marisol turn to the operators. "Now it is ready," she said. That difference mattered. Marisol was named Permanent Safety Compliance Officer with direct access to Ridgeline's oversight team. Ortiz kept his job after the review concluded that he had followed a direct order under pressure. But he accepted a new role with a different responsibility. He helped write the lockout procedure. The first line of it was clear enough for anyone on the floor to understand. No operator, technician, or supervisor could be instructed to bypass a safety system without a written record, independent review, and a shutdown plan. Dana's suspension was erased from her file. Her back pay arrived without a fight. A small laminated card went up beside every emergency stop panel in the building. The wording was plain. Stop the machine when safety is uncertain. Report the concern. No one may punish an operator for making a good faith safety stop. It was not poetic. It did not need to be. People on the floor stopped to read it anyway. On Dana's first morning back at Press 4, Tomas found her before second shift. "I heard you were the one who stopped it," he said. Dana looked at the new guard assembly, the clean panel and the fresh inspection tag attached beside the controls. "I was one of the people who did," she said. Tomas looked at the panel. "Can you show me what to watch for?" Dana nodded. For 15 minutes, she stood beside him and pointed out the sequence of lights. She showed him how the sensor behaved when the guard settled correctly. She showed him what a nuisance code looked like, and what a real fault looked like. She told him that a machine could wait. A hand could not. Tomas wrote the important parts in a small notebook. Then he looked at the red emergency stop button. "What happens if I stop it and somebody tells me to start it again?" he asked. Dana looked at the new safety card posted beside the panel. "Then you say why you stopped it," she said. "You write it down, you call Marisol, and you do not start it until the problem is actually fixed." "What if they get mad?" Dana gave him the smallest smile. "They might." Thomas waited for a better answer. "That does not make the machine safe," she said. When Thomas left for his station, Dana stayed beside Press 4 for another minute. The floor had returned to its normal noise. Conveyors moved. Forklifts passed at the far end of the building. Someone laughed near the time clock. Dana placed one hand on the outside of the new guard. Not as a test, just as a reminder that it was there. 14 years on that floor had taught her that the best repairs were often invisible once they were done. The machine ran. People forgot what had almost happened. Work resumed. But this time, she hoped they would remember enough. At the end of the shift, Dana drove home and parked outside the house, just as the sky was turning dark. Caleb was at the kitchen table with a college brochure open beside his plate. Mike was finishing dinner. The kitchen smelled like onions and rice. Dana's work boots left a faint line of dust near the door, the ordinary mark of a person returning from a normal day that had not been normal at all. Caleb looked up. "Is that machine thing over?" he asked. Dana sat down. "The machine is fixed," she said. "And the CEO? He is not there anymore." Caleb considered that. "Did you win?" Dana reached for the salt. "I stopped something that was not safe," she said. "Then I told someone who could do something about it." "That sounds like winning." Dana looked at Mike. He gave her the smallest nod. "Maybe," she said. "But mostly it means people go home with the same number of fingers they came in with." Caleb smiled despite himself and returned to the college brochure. Mike reached across the table and touched Dana's wrist for a second. It was not a celebration. It was only a quiet recognition that she was home, that the job was still there, and that the thing she had been afraid of all day had not followed her through the front door. The dinner continued. The machine would run again tomorrow. Dana would be there before second shift. Tomas would know what to watch for. And somewhere inside the plant, a red light would mean what it was always supposed to mean. Stop.